Hi.
Hi there, how's it going?
So this is the Idiot Check, and I'm the host, Kara. Could you give a quick introduction for anyone watching who doesn't know you?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a songwriter. I live in Maine. Yeah, been doing this for a little over a decade, and it's pretty simple. Just me in my little recording studio in my house making songs.
When did you first start playing and writing music?
It was in college. I wanted to be a speechwriter, and uh, or work in politics in some way, and then I went to Puerto Rico for a summer to live at my great grandparents' apartment and work on sort of a research project, and didn't end up doing the research project and ended up kind of busking sort of
It's-
randomly, even though I didn't really know how to play any songs or anything.
And you said you have great grandparents there. Do you think your roots had any influence on your style of music?
No, I mean, I don't think so, really. Yeah, my grandparents are from Puerto Rico, and my great grandfather is from Spain, and um, but I've only sort of recently connected with that kind of music. I didn't really grow up, with that much Spanish around, just when they would visit or we would visit them. And I didn't really feel, for a long time, I didn't really feel any connection to any music with Spanish language or with like sort of typical Spanish sounds, or what I associated with Spain and Latin America.
Maybe the finger picking a little bit?
Maybe, yeah, maybe, and maybe just being drawn to the guitar in general. Yeah, no, that's
Absolutely.
totally true.
So what would you describe your style of music as?
I just say like folk with like lots of words and stories. It's especially lately, it's really just been me with a guitar, trying to write words that I like.
Who are some of your inspirations?
Leonard Cohen is has been a big inspiration, especially lately, and mostly um, poetry and his novels. I just love the way he writes and thinks about things.
Is he
Um,
more of a writer or a musician or both?
he started off as a writer, but then became well known as a musician,
Oh,
and sort of transitioned to that, but wrote books and poetry throughout his musical career, but definitely more well known as a musician. Um, but yeah, he's just an interesting guy, and thinks in a way that I would like to, uh, or like articulates his thinking in a way that I would like to get to someday.
that's amazing. So kind of along the same line, if you could play with anybody, who would it be?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a tough question for me because I never really like playing with anybody. Um, it's I
Yeah, you're a
yeah,
solo musician, right?
yeah, and I think I don't have that kind of musical mind where I can layer sounds very easily and find harmonies very easily. So usually when somebody else is playing on stage with me, um,
You give him the boot.
I give them the boot. Yeah, they're like, I just get angry and confused.
But you haven't practiced with a band ever?
No, no. There's a guy named Ben Cosgrove, who's one of my best friends, and he's sort of plays all these different instruments, and he plays on my songs a lot.
You talk a little bit about your songwriting process.
Sure, yeah. I'm actually lately I've been or for the past couple of years I've just been in my little studio. I mean, you can't really call it a studio.
Sure, you can.
Sure, I can. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I've just been in here recording all the time. So I just come in and I hit record and I play like the 10 songs or so that I've been working on. And I'm just trying to get live versions of the songs to release. I haven't been sort of doing it one track at a time or one instrument at a time or anything. I've just been trying to sort of hit that space where the song feels true to me when I listen to it, which is really hard to get to, and really humbling, and sort of that, a song that you love one day, then for the next 3 weeks you can't find it again, even though you're saying the same words and
Absolutely.
playing the same things.
Yeah, it's really like a feeling that you want to convey.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
could you talk a little bit about your latest song, Sad Babe?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's I wrote that over the last year. And yeah, it just kind of got longer and longer, and um it
I was getting like a little bit of the Lumineers vibe, or like Bob Dylan.
yeah, cool. Oh, that's awesome. That's a great compliment. Yeah, like both of them. Yeah, that song was a struggle to try to figure out and try to get because it's only 2 chords for most of it, and so to try to um find sort of the nuance to make it so it wasn't totally boring, because it's 5.5 minutes of 2 chords. And yeah, so I recorded it many, many times, and my voice was like sort of the problem every time, and just trying to say each word in the way that like led on to the next line, was a really interesting, difficult thing for me. Yeah, it's a song that feels like very sort of ingrained in me, just because I've recorded it hundreds and hundreds of times.
Is there anything that you want people to know about it?
No, not really. I I think it kind of, whenever I was walking in the woods with a friend the other day, and he was asking me about it, and sort of bringing out lines and asking about certain things, and and I always try to go there because I like talking about the songs, and I like and philosophy and like the theory behind things.
Yeah.
Um, but then at the end of those conversations, I just kind of feel like, oh, I ruined the song for him.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of nice when you can leave it up to the interpretation. So, what was it like growing up in Western New York? How did it influence your music?
yeah, that's a great question. I think it is all over my music. I moved to Maine when I was 18, and I've been here mostly since. But I don't feel like, and it's been a while. I'm in my 30. I'm 33, so it's been a while, and um, I I still don't feel like I'm writing songs about Maine. Really, I feel like I'm writing songs about Western New York, and that kind of sort of space. It's an interesting part of the country. I grew up sort of in between Buffalo and Pittsburgh and Cleveland, which are 3 amazing, beautiful cities that people think are pretty shitty, and are really struggling in some ways. Um, and I feel like that is kind of a little bit of the character of where I came from, and what I'm interested in. It's like kind of um, sort of struggling, beautiful places.
That's really beautiful. So, I hear that you went across the U.S. on a motorhome. Is that is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really, really cool. I hear you have a whole album called Motorhome, which I'm sure was a big result out of that trip. What inspired the trip? And how did you plan for it? If you planned at all, or if you kind of just like took off and freestyled on the road.
Yeah, it was just something that made sense. Especially, I kind of decided I wanted to be a touring songwriter before that made any before I had any fans anywhere. um and so I was playing shows, and for $50 a show, or for donations, or like at shows, yeah, that weren't gonna make enough money for me to like put a tour together. And so it was just kind of made sense to cut all of our costs and move into a $2,000 motorhome, and sort of limp our way across the country. And because if all you need to pay for is food and gas, um, making $50 in a night isn't that bad. uh, so,
Yeah.
so that was kind of the idea. And then while I was doing it, I wrote a song every every week, or I tried to, and release those as demos. And then at the end of that year, the label that I work with, Son Canciones, they helped me choose like 12 of those songs, 11 of those songs, to make into an album.
How did that relationship come to be?
I think they found me on a little Canadian music blog called High Five for Lo-Fi, which is a great blog that's still going. This is like 10 years ago. And then I was doing a tour of Ireland, and they asked me to come over to Barcelona to play a show, and it was just like magical and super connected and special. And then we all sort of went out that night, stayed up till 3 a.m. and did a handshake deal for a record.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they've been in there, and they're, it's just two people that run the label, and then a bunch of friends and family that help them, and I feel very close to them, and my relationship with them is one of the best things that has ever come out of making music, for sure.
What was your best memory on the road?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there was, because our motorhome looked so sort of ratty, we had to talk to the cops a lot. People would call the cops on us a lot. And one day, it was like 3 different times the cops were called on us for some reason. And then one of the times they just sort of came around to our back window, which is where the table was, where we were both like sitting, reading or something. And they like knocked on the window. We had to talk to the cops, and then they left, and then they came back, and I don't know, had some more questions or something. And then they left, and then I was walking our dog before bedtime, and it was dark out, and they came back, and they like flashed the lights a little bit, and rolled down the window, and they were like, "Hey, we looked you up, and we'd like to buy a t-shirt." So I sold them some t-shirts.
It's like, oh, you guys again. Oh, you guys again.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm glad I have something to offer now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was a nice memory. That was in Iowa.
Oh my God. What a relief feeling that must have been too. What advice, if you have any, would you give to upcoming musicians?
I think what I would say is like, try to structure your work so that you spend as much time doing the thing that you're most interested in as possible. I think for a while I spent a lot of time booking shows and promoting shows, and trying to figure out social media and web traffic and streaming, and just trying to attack music from all different sides. And I think that's a good thing to do if you can do it, and if you're interested in all those things. But I resented some of those things. I really didn't like some of those things, and so it just like in the past few years I've just written songs, and I've just like written and recorded songs and kind of hope for the best, and it has been a lot more fulfilling, and like I haven't like sort of found any super stable success or anything, but it has felt a lot better to me.
Beautiful. Yeah, stay in the heart space.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you spill anything for what you got going next?
Yeah, I just got the same thing I've been going. I'm trying to release a song every month, with like a little essay kind of thing with it to my mailing list, and that's what I'll have going for the next year. And yeah, I really like doing that. And then once we can travel again, I'll head over to Spain and make another album
thank you for your wisdom and sharing some of your story and your music with me. Yeah, so this is the Idiot Check. This was Max Garcia Conover, and we're out.